Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be going through my top 10 Procreate tips for absolute beginners. Now, if you are new to Procreate, you'll have already discovered it can be quite a difficult app to navigate. But in this video series, I intend to pass on the tips and tricks I've learned so far in my Procreate journey to help you accelerate yours. Now, as I say, I do intend to make this into a series, so I really would appreciate it if you'd consider liking and subscribing, because it'll allow you to stay up to date with all the videos I make and it really will help my channel to grow. That being said, let's get into the video. The first tip I wanted to talk about, and one of the first tips that I learned, was when drawing shapes, if you want to make a perfect shape, rather than just drawing it and hoping for the best, you can actually draw the shape, keep your pen pressed down, and it'll turn the shape into a pretty much perfect square, and it'll allow you to move it around. And then if you tap with your other finger on the screen, that'll turn it into a perfect square. This works with all shapes, so if I wanted to draw a circle, I'd keep my pen pressed on the page and then press my finger on the page, and it'll allow you to resize the shape to whichever size you want. So that brings us on to tip number 2. Tip number 2, I want to talk about filling in block colors. So I'm just going to draw a little design here just as an example, but this would work on any design. So say I wanted to fill in certain shapes with a black block color. So all you have to do is drag your color from up here and drop it, and you can fill the shapes. But an even quicker way than that is when you start a drag and drop. If you click continue filling, then you can just tap your pen where you want to fill in, and it allows you to fill them in. Tip number 3 is how to easily undo and redo things that you've done. So say I'm making this design and I start rubbing out, and I decide that I've rubbed out the wrong thing. Use 2 fingers and tap, and it'll allow you to undo as many of those actions as you wish. Then say I've gone too far and I actually wanted to keep some of those rubbings out, 3 finger tap will allow you to redo. Tip number 4, in this tip I'm going to show you how you can get your brush strokes a lot smoother. So if you choose your brush, it works on all of them, but I'm going to choose monoline, and it'll bring up this menu. What you want to do is go down to stabilization and turn that up. And when you start using the brush, you'll see that your brush is a lot smoother and it's a lot easier to trace around objects. Tip number 5, I want to talk about brush sizes. My chosen brush is monoline, and imagine you're working on a design and you've got a thinner brush chosen, and then you want to change to a thicker brush. But now you want to go back to that thinner brush and you can't remember what size it actually was. So what you actually can do if you're working with a number of different size brushes is when you've chosen your size, I'm going to choose 38%. I can click on that little bar and I can click the plus, and that'll save me brush for us. So now no matter where else I'm working, I can always click on that little line and go back to that brush. You can do this multiple times for the different brush sizes you're using. So I can be working with this brush, and then I can choose a finer brush and I can save that as well. And I can be working away with my finer one, and I can easily change between the 2 brush sizes. There's no limit on how many of these you can do. So if you want to work with multiple brushes, you just have multiple saves, and then you can easily click between the different sizes. And it means you're not having to remember which percentage you're using. Tip number 6 is how to use the colour finder. So say for example I'm doing a design and I'm using the soft brush and I'm painting away. I'm blending colours together. This is just to show, but obviously this is to show how to use the controls. And then I'm like, oh, I like this colour here, but I don't know how to find it. If you click on this square in the middle of here, and now you can use this cursor to find the exact colour that you want, and that'll appear up here. So now that's in your palette, and I can continue painting with that colour. So tip number 7, say you're drawing something and you want it to be perfectly symmetrical. Rather than having to draw each side individually, what you can do is if you go on settings, canvas, drawing guide, and then you want to go on edit drawing guide, come down here and you can actually choose symmetry. So now when you're drawing, whatever you're drawing on this side of the page will automatically come onto this side of the page. And another tip is if you do the same thing, edit drawing guide, go on symmetry, but then go on options, you can also choose to make it horizontal, quadrant, or you can do radial, which is really good for creating things like mandalas. So you can see the effect. Tip number 8, I'm just going to go over how I like to trace an object. First, I'm going to open up settings, I'm going to go on insert photo, I'm just going to choose any of these, try this skull. So then I'm going to choose to fit it to canvas. I'll make it a little bit smaller so you can see. Then what I would choose to do is I'm going to open up another layer. Then I can go back on my layer with the skull on, click on this little N, and I can turn down the opacity. And that makes it a lot easier to trace. Then when I go on layer 3, I can choose my pen, I'm going to use monoline, and I can easily start tracing around this. And another thing you can do is you can click on your layers and you can turn off the skull layer so you can see where you're up to with your tracing. Tip number 9 is how to duplicate and lock a layer. So say you've got your design on this layer and you're happy with it and you don't want to mess about with it anymore, but you just want to try something new without altering the original image. So you can go on here, swipe along, click duplicate, and now essentially you've got two of the exact same layer. Now I can go back onto layer 1, which was my original layer, and lock it. So that means now there's no way I can accidentally mess this layer up. But if I open layers, then I can click on this version of it and I can still mess about with this one. And then if I do like what I've done, I can do what I showed you before and just merge them. You can't merge it while it's locked, but now I can merge them layers. For my final tip of this video, I just want to show you is how to bring up the copy and paste menu. So remember I had 3-finger tap to undo. Well, if you do a 3-finger swipe, it brings up this menu and it allows you to cut, copy all, duplicate, and cut and paste. So for example, if I had a little design that I'd done and I wanted to copy and paste it to another layer, I could swipe down, copy, I could create a new layer, go onto that layer, swipe down and paste, and it'll allow us to drop that onto the new layer, and then it's already selected and that allows us to resize it, put it where I want it. That's all for this video, guys. If you have managed to stick around at the end, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you have taken any value from this video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing and liking so you can stay up to date with all my videos, and it really will help my channel grow. That being said, cheers guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Marijuana.